Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this video we're going to show you how to play your physical PlayStation discs on the PlayStation Classic Edition. I'm serious. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Rock Solid Productions. My name is Gary, your host here on the channel. Now, if this is your first time here, I want to take a second and just say thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate you checking out what we have going on. If you like what you see here, please do me a favor, check out some of the other videos that we have here on the channel, including both our unboxing and review of the PlayStation Classic Edition, and you can find both of those links down below in the more info section. They'll also be in a pinned post too. Now, the PlayStation Classic, this guy here, this guy right on screen, well, it's been kind of controversial, mostly owing to the fact that the games list is kind of meh at best, the fact that many of the games are not even the NTSC games, they're the PAL versions, and they just don't play very well. It's one of the things I didn't care a whole lot for the system in my review, which you can actually check out in the link right up there, is just the lineup of games. There's very few titles here that got me excited. But I bought the system, I kept the system because I figured it would be hackable, just like the Nintendo NES Classic and Super NES Classic have been. And lo and behold, it has been rather quickly. Now, there are a lot of people out there that'll show you how to hack your PlayStation Classic Edition. And quite honestly, I've learned from watching some of those other videos. But the problem that I always have with any of the other videos that I've seen is nobody ever talks about, well, where do you get the games? It's always been a dirty secret here in the world of retro gaming when you're dealing with EverDrives and emulation. Well, you're pirating the games 90% of the time. Well, what I'm going to show you here, because I am a huge fan of physical media, I actually want to own the games. I'm going to show you how you can quickly, easily, and relatively inexpensively take your physical games and play them through the PlayStation Classic Edition. Now, you're going to need a few items, and some of this you may already have, some you may need to purchase. One of the things that you're going to need is a DVD-ROM drive of some type. Now, my laptop actually doesn't have an optical drive in it, so I have to use an external one. If your computer has a DVD-ROM drive in it, you're good to go. The other thing that you're going to need, and I've got a couple here, you're going to need a thumb drive. Now, with the thumb drive itself, and I'm actually not using those, I am going to be using a SanDisc 128 gig USB 3.1, just super teeny tiny little USB thumb drive. The reason for that is the way that you have to utilize this thumb drive. It has to be formatted in FAT32 format. And we're going to show you this on the computer all in just a moment. Most of my other thumb drives that I have so that I can transfer larger file sizes, I don't use FAT32. And this thumb drive I'm going to have set up specifically for my PlayStation Classic Edition. Now, finally, just one thing of note. The hack that we are going to be using, the thumb drive needs to be inserted into the Player 2 controller port. While some of you, that may mean that you lose access to Player 2 if you want to play two-player games. Not necessarily. The hack that we're going to be using, if you use a powered USB hub, you can now use both the thumb drive to load the games along with being able to play as Player 2. So let's turn our attention to our computer and we're going to show you how to get everything set up. So here we have our desktop, and there's a few things that we're going to need. The first program you're going to need is this bad boy here, and this is called Imgburn. It's available free download. I'll have a link down below in the more info section. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, we have a couple of PlayStation discs here. We already have our disk drive connected to the computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Imgburn. And this would normally be a little bit faster, but because I'm capturing on my computer, it takes a little bit more time. So what we're going to need to do is create an image file from disk. And I'm going to start with WCW Nitro. I love crappy wrestling games, I always have. So we're going to drop it in here and give the computer a moment to recognize it, and then we're going to create image file from disk. So here's the label, ISO 9660, same as the system file. Here's basically your information as far as how many sectors, size, so on and so forth. And I need to select my destination folder. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I believe, yep, PlayStation ISOs. And what I like to do is I like to create a folder with the name of the game that I am creating a backup of. Try not to go too fast here, but this is WCW Nitro. We will save it. And now all that you have to do is click this button right here, and it'll start the backup process. Now, again, because I am capturing at the same time, this will take longer than what it would normally do for a capture such as this. I'm not going to make you sit through and watch this whole thing, but while this is doing its thing, the next thing you'll want to do is download this piece of software here. It's called BleemSync. Now, the version that I'm going to be using is the latest available at the time of this recording. It is always being worked on, but it is BleemSync 0.4.0 for Windows. And in there, we'll open this up real quick. There's going to be 5 different files in there. You need to extract those to your desktop. Now, I already have done that. And what we're going to be doing is first we are going to be working in this folder here, the games folder. Now, as it comes, you will have, and we're going to go back to the zip, in the games, it'll come like this, where you'll have a 1 and a 2 folder. Copy those somewhere on your desktop. That way you have a good copy to work with if you ever need it. And inside that folder, you'll have a game data. And in there, you'll have a game INI and a PCSX config file. As you can see, I've already backed those up to my desktop. In case those are needed later on, we will have those available for us to use. Well, not in case. When we do need those later on, we'll have those available to use. Now, what this is doing here is it is basically creating two different files, our bin file and our Q file. Those are the two different files that a PlayStation disc needs to be able to run. In addition, you can also go ahead, you can do this ahead of time if you want to, otherwise we'll show you in a second as part of the tool. There is the image file that we have here, which I'm not quite sure what that is, but it's showing you the template size, 226 by 226, if you have to create your own thumbnail image in Photoshop. Such a happy little ditty when it's complete. So operation completed successfully. Go to my PlayStation ISOs, WCW Nitro, there we go. ISO 9660 bin. Now I need to actually get these two files into the BleemSync folder. Now, as a heads up, instead of doing this all through the desktop and locally on your computer, you can actually do it right on the SD card. I'm sorry, not the SD card, but the thumb drive. Now, the last thing we need to do is prep our thumb drive, which I have right here. Go ahead and insert that. And I'm going to delete everything that's on here. Go to this PC, USB drive G, and we need to format. Now, due to the size of the thumb drive that I'm using, I can't actually use Windows onboard tools to format my thumb drive properly. I can't just do a right click, format. FAT32 isn't an option here. So there's actually a third-party app that I have here. So here we have the FAT32 formatter open and everything. Make sure you're selecting the right drive. We want drive G in this case. We need to label it Sony, all in caps. Hit start. Do we really want to format? Yes, we do. FAT32 is complete. Now at this point, we can open up our Sony thumb drive. As you can see, it is empty. Take our BleemSync folders, drop it on in. Now that we have our game backed up, now that we have our thumb drive formatted, and now that we have the base files on our thumb drive, there's one last thing we need to do, and that's add our new game, because what I had done before is I already had 4 games on here. I need to add my 5th game, which is my WCW Nitro. Well, we were working behind the scenes too. We even went ahead, copied Gran Turismo too. So what I'm going to do is I need to create a new folder. So new folder, and it just needs to be 5. As you add games to this, just increase the number of the folder. Next game would be 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. So now one last thing I need to do is I need to make sure that the file structure is set up the same in this folder as this folder. So we need to have a game data, the PCSX that's actually loaded onto the thumb drive from the PlayStation Classic. Don't worry about that, but I need the game data folder. So we're going to go in here, game data folder is not in here. So we need to new folder, game data, and actually I'm going to double check here real quick. Format, game data, all one word, D is capitalized. In game data, we are going to drag and drop. I've already gone through and worked some of these, so my game INI, my WCW and Q, drag that over there. And while that is doing that, I'm going to do games 6 new folder. Now we're going to go back to that, and I'm going to grab Gran Turismo 2 bin and Q, and then Gran Turismo 2. I'm going to put this as -S, so I know that that's the simulation one. And again, I need to make sure that is the same for both. Okay, those are saved. I'm missing my my 2 other files here. That's where I make sure that I always have these backed up. Game INI, PC, copy those, drag and drop, paste into there too. Now what I can actually do, I'm going to cut and go up here. I just created that extra folder already there. So game INI on here. We need to go. Actually, I'm going to go to the other one because it has a template to show me how to do with 2 discs. That's the format we need right there. So discs and this again. I just need to grab that for disc 1 and that for disc 2. And then title. We're going to change that. Gran Turismo 2. I don't like it shouting at me, so we're going to put it in lowercase. Publisher is Polyphony Digital. And our publish year, 1999. File, save, bam. That one's done. That's doing that. We'll double check game data. There's all that beautiful, just like it should be. Drag those in there. Gran Turismo, those 2 are in there. Now I need to move these. And once these are done, we need to run one more job. Folder structure, everything, file names look good here. Again, we've got our game INI, matches what we have here for file names. We've got our bin and Q files. Beautiful. Okay, now we are going to go back to our main root, go to BleemSync, and find the exe file, which I think I had at the very bottom. There it is. Just need to run that. And that should have pulled in all of our images. Let's check and see. Did not. So what I'm going to do, I actually had my WCW Nitro PNG ready to rock and roll. Let's see if it did. Gran Turismo. Did not. So let's grab Gran Turismo real quick. And that's a 256 by 240, pretty close. So I'm going to copy image, going to go into our Photoshop, paste, transform slightly. That has been saved, and I actually have that in my desktop folder. There you can see it right there. Now the one thing I'm not quite sure on, which we'll find out because it's the first dual disc game, is if I have to have the PNG in there twice. I don't think I should have to, but let's check it out here in a second. So that's all named correctly. We are going to go now to and rerun that one more time with the images in there. Again, just to make sure. You can never run the BleemSync exe too many times. I'll just throw that out there. Alright, so we have that. And we are going to eject. And now let's try and see what it does in the PlayStation Classic itself. Now we're going to take our thumb drive. We're just going to insert it into Player 2. Now one thing I like to do as well, I completely remove my power cord and then I reconnect it. That way I make sure that I'm getting a clean and complete and total reboot. Now you can see the amber light is on. You'll see me in just a second reach down here to start recording on the capture card just after it starts with what it has to do here. Your startup process will take longer than normal because it has to read the files off of the thumb drive. So you'll also notice the amber light here. In a moment it will flash green and amber as well. Keep an eye on that. And there it's flashing. You're gonna have a few seconds of a black screen here. My belief on this is the more games you have loaded, probably the longer period it's going to have between when you actually get to see the menu. You'll see the health and safety warnings on here. Fingers crossed if we did this all correctly. There we go. WCW Nitro, Gran Turismo 2. Let's check out some Nitro action. Now one other thing you can do is I think if you hit select and triangle, it brings up your menu. And this is where a lot of people found early on that if you had a keyboard connected, you hit the escape key, you could access this. You could go to the menu, you could exit. We're gonna just exit out of here. And it is rocking and rolling exactly like it should. I am going to hit the reset button to go back to the main screen because I wanna see how it handles Gran Turismo. And that again, it's telling me, hey, virtual disc, you hit that. That's a good sign. That's a really good sign. It's looking like it's working here, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and gifted animals. We are able to load our own physical discs onto the PlayStation Classic Edition, and it looks great. I'm really excited. I've got a little bit of a chill going on right now because this is what I hoped the PlayStation Classic would be. This is the type of gaming experience I really wanted. So let's go here to start game. We're just going to start a game here and see how it goes and run it in the background. What I like about doing this is the fact this really still, yeah, I'm controlling it. That's awesome. All right, we're gonna pause, we're gonna exit. We're gonna go back to the main menu on here. I'm all about, you guys see I have, a bunch of PlayStation discs here. I want these to last as long as possible. And unfortunately, disc rot is a real thing. Eventually, those games are not going to load and not going to play anymore. This allows me to make a legal copy of my existing physical titles, and it still gives me the joy and the fun of going out and going to live action games or going to conventions or going wherever and still hunting down the physical games I want. It's not piracy, and that's what I love about this. Everything that I've shown you, it's free. Now, there are some things that cropped up along the way. You need to make sure you've got your files named properly inside your folder. You need to make sure you have that game data folder. If you don't, you're SOL. You're going to be up the creek, and it will be... This video took me an hour longer than it should have because I forgot to build the game data folders inside the games. So, and I've done this a couple times now. As long as you have a DVD-ROM drive of some type, the software is freeware that I used. Now, because I am using a larger thumb drive, I had to go through that kind of unusual method of file formatting to get FAT32. It's pretty simple and straightforward. If I would have used a 32 or 64 gig thumb drive, it probably would have worked with Windows 10 as it was. But because I am using a larger thumb drive, it caused some issues there. Super excited. This works great. And now the other thing I want to show you real quick, I'm going to stop recording on my capture device. I'm going to power the system off. I'm going to wait for the amber light to come on. Amber light's on. I'm going to remove the thumb drive. It's more of a pinky drive, really. Remove the power cable for a moment. I'm going to plug it back in. Wait for the amber light to come on. Power it on. And I just want you to see that this doesn't damage the system at all. It doesn't remove any of the existing games. Those are all still there. I hope as they work and continue to develop this setup, the BleemSync, and I love the fact, there we go, everything's still there. I love the callback to Bleemcast and the software for the Dreamcast to be able to run PlayStation 1 games, and they looked better on the Dreamcast. I love that, but as they're continuing to work and develop this, what I'm hoping is that instead of having to do what I just did to remove the thumb drive to get back to the original games, that you can basically just have the games load from the thumb drive and still access everything that's on this menu. That would be really, really cool. One benefit I do like about this over like Hack-Chi for the NES and the Super NES Classic is the fact that you're not limited to onboard storage. You basically can use whatever size thumb drive that you want to be able to access this. The main thing you need is to be able to format it in that FAT32 format, and I showed you how you can do that on here as well. The one thing, just take your time, be careful with it, and if you have any questions, if you run into any walls or anything, as always, feel free to send me an email, rocksolidmail@gmail.com. Hit me up on Twitter @RockSolidStudios, or send us a message over on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions. This is a somewhat technical thing to do, but it's really not that in-depth. At least for me, this is really, really easy to do. But then again, I've also been backing up my DVD and Blu-ray collection for years, so a lot of these steps are very, very familiar to me. Let us know too, if you want to have early access to our videos and help support the channel, you can do so as well by heading on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/rocksolid. For as little as $1 a month, $12 a year, you can support the channel. You get early access to all of our videos and exclusive one-on-one content with me, just like these folks that you see on screen right here too. And finally, like I said at the top of this video, if you like what you see here, if you want to see more, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. That way each and every time we do come out with new video content, you're kept the most up to date. Let me know in the comments, is this something that now that this is available, now that you can play, in a way, your own physical discs through the PlayStation Classic Edition, are you now more likely to buy a PlayStation Classic? I look at this now as it is an unofficial, officially licensed RetroPie for PlayStation. Yeah, that kind of sort of makes sense. It runs well, it looks good. Overall, just need to do your due diligence when you're setting up your file structure, and if you do that, you're going to be successful. My name is Gary. This has been Rock Solid Productions, and our experience is showing you how we set up our PlayStation Classic Edition to play our physical games via thumb drive. I thank you for watching, and I will see you real soon.